Coming up on BCIT Magazine, East Van Dem eviction, what tenants are demanding from City Council.
And scene. Improv back on center stage at Granville Island.
Also, piping in St. Patrick's Day, looking for the luck of the Irish in Vancouver.
Hello and welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Jake McGrail.
And I'm Madison Buckingham. Here's what's happening around the Lower Mainland. It's becoming a familiar story for many Vancouver residents. Dem eviction. My co-anchor Jake McGrail went to 2 lots approved for redevelopment to find out what tenants want from the city.
These buildings at Templeton and Oxford Streets in East Vancouver were fully renovated just 6 years ago. Residents thought they could count on living here for the long term.
We searched for a long time, looking for the exact right thing because we did not want to move again anytime soon. And after about 9 months of looking, this is the place we found. It was exactly what we wanted. We thought we'd hit the jackpot.
Love led a protest during the project's public hearing. She says half of the tenants don't qualify for the Tenant Relocation Protection Policy, or TRPP. Despite the protest, the project was approved, and Love is not surprised the council didn't push for some changes.
There's also just no will for it. The processes are not made with equity in mind at all, so tenants are really an afterthought.
The residents want Vancouver to follow Burnaby's housing policies. They include universal protections for all tenants and the assignment of a tenant relocation coordinator to help them find interim housing.
There's a full-time person for tenants to contact at any point during the week. So it's been positive for the most part, and it's an important piece of compensation.
The Vancouver tenants, meanwhile, don't know when they might be evicted or if they'll have much support finding new housing.
Everyone just takes for granted that when tenants are displaced, that there's going to be a place for them to go. But I haven't seen anything concrete that says this is absolutely what will happen to these tenants.
We reached out to the City of Vancouver, but they were unable to provide us with an interview. In a written statement, the city said that all tenants not eligible for TRPP will receive 2 months' worth of rent as compensation. That is double what non-eligible tenants are guaranteed to receive, but only half of what those who do qualify for TRPP are guaranteed. Jake McGrail in Burnaby for BCIT Magazine.
The Vancouver Improv Comedy Centre is back with more shows and new audiences after a long closure due to the pandemic. Our reporter Chris Koo explains how the centre is adapting.
The COVID pandemic has discouraged many industries by extreme, but theater artists have had more trouble than most getting back on their feet.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a bumpy start trying to get reopened back in the summer of 2021 was when we did our first shows, end of August. And the first week I think we did 2 shows, and the next week we had to shut back down because all of the restrictions changed again.
You.
Johnny?
I don't go by that name.
What do you go by now?
John.
Improvisation is a spontaneous ensemble theater, often involving live unscripted interaction with the audience. During the lockdown, the improvisation actors in Vancouver were left with no option but to discover a way to make a living.
But we did find avenues through Zoom and being able to incorporate the Zoom app and the challenges, but also the pros that came with it too in finding new improv games that we could play and being able to reach an audience in their own homes as opposed to them coming to the theater.
We have costumes and books.
Now in 2023, all the outfits are back at the stage for the actors to improvise at night.
And we started with limited capacity, and slowly we were able to kind of expand our audience numbers. And at this point, we often have sold out weekend shows. We have 186 people in our theater as our capacity, and we are so lucky that people are excited about seeing live theater again.
Although the process was slow at first, through the help of marketing team, the Improv Center is now completely back to business. Chris Koo in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
And Chris joins us now. So Chris, have audiences at the Improv Center changed since the pandemic?
The artistic director is saying that there's a lot of long-term audiences,
And since the Improv Center is located on Granville Island, there's also a lot of tourists that it's their first time on the theater. Overall, people are saying that they are excited to see the show together once again.
So what's next for the Improv Center?
Well, on May 6th, they are starring Back to the 90s onto the theater. After that, the Vancouver director is saying that they want to move the show into the Vancouver Community Center as well. Back to you.
Thanks, Chris. As leprechauns lined the streets for St. Patrick's Day, the Vancouver Art Gallery hosted the 20th annual Celtic Fest. Our reporter Melanie Levesque discovered why the event is a source of well-deserved fun for the community.
The sights and sounds of the Celtic Fest fill downtown with music and partygoers dressed in green. Celtic Fest is bringing a slice of Ireland to Canada.
Just a celebration of one's culture. Like St. Patrick's Day in Ireland is just nearly normality. Here it's out of normality because it's Canada, obviously. And then it's like a little piece of home.
Whether you're at home, Ireland, or anywhere else in the world, it's about getting everybody together, celebrating with some good music, some good fun. Everybody's having a few drinks. It's all about having a good time.
In the celebratory atmosphere, that fun is clearly visible.
We have a saying in Musqueam language, "Ai tanashqualawan kwanzi kutsnala." My heart is full to be standing here.
The festival supports the local community by inviting local food trucks and vendors to sell beer and food to the attendees.
This is Lawrence, or Larry, and that's Patter. That's Patter. Because it's minimum effort, it's all about having a laugh. And that's it, and enjoying yourself. And that's all we've done. That's all you do. Just go out and have a laugh and have a few drinks with friends. That's it.
This year's Celtic Fest will be seen by Canadians everywhere as people watch the event in real life as well as on social media. Melanie Levesque for BCIT Magazine in downtown Vancouver.
The Vancouver Park Board has voted to allow drinking on 7 public beaches this summer. This pilot project begins in June and includes popular spots like Kitsilano and Second Beach.
I see. Coming up, striking a chord, how a local guitar building business is spreading its wings.
Breaking new ice, how diversity is transforming the Hockey Night in Canada audience.
And new acts, how the Vancouver Improv Center is putting a spotlight on new performers.
Oh, I know just a place to cheer you up. Let's check out Nestia Home.
Okay, let's take a look. They seem to sell functional and beautiful home decorations, and they're even eco-friendly.
Whoa!
That was so easy.
Oh wait, I almost forgot your housewarming gift.
A young musician working on the downtown east side started a guitar building business during the pandemic. My co-anchor Madison Buckingham went down to her workshop to take a look at how the business is growing.
Meredith Coloma may be a retired musician, but her love for instruments has never faded. Prior to the pandemic, she built for other companies, but it was in her time away from the world that she owned her craft.
So I would do R&D and 3D engineering for like the top companies, just because I was a builder with experience in the 3D programming. So I worked for a long time for other builders and never kind of fully invested in me and my brand.
Through social media, Meredith's art grew popularity. In 2022, Coloma Guitars sold 120 models. Fast forward to this year, the company has sold 100 guitars so far.
We've got investors coming in July. Our shop is kind of doing a whole rehaul, and we're just going to go full production into these.
But Meredith says she couldn't do it all on her own. She credits her success largely to the community of musicians who use her brand. Guitarist Alvin Brennan is one of her main supporters.
So I remember just seeing her guitars on Instagram, first of all, like before she started really killing it and selling a bunch of guitars. But I was just, I don't know, just a fan of her work.
Alvin won a Coloma guitar through a giveaway and shortly after started promoting Meredith's work through Instagram Reels.
She's hired me to do some work for her at that point, and unofficially I'm doing work for her by showcasing the instrument just when I play live all the time, just because I happen to like it as much as I do.
Meredith is also a proud member of the LGBTQ+ community, and she sees just how important representation is in the industry.
For me, I didn't address it for a really long time, and that was because I didn't think it mattered. It didn't matter to me. I was living my life. It's a normal life. But I get a lot of messages from kids that are trying to figure their way, not just in the guitar community, but in life.
Meredith is excited to be inspiring so many as her business grows. Madison Buckingham in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine. Hockey Night in Canada Punjabi has been a staple of Canadian households since 2009. Our reporter Joseph Augusti went to the set to find out how the show has been a trailblazer for representation in sports broadcasting.
Today we are on location at Hockey Night in Canada Punjabi in downtown Vancouver. I was able to speak with Randeep Janda and Mantar Bandal on their responsibilities and what the show means to the community. First, let's get to Randeep, who speaks about his role as the host.
From a host perspective, what you're doing is you're kind of guiding the show. So, going from segment to segment, going from breaks, kind of setting the table as well. So, very different. Obviously, both exciting, both really interesting jobs. But I think from a host perspective, you feel like maybe a little bit more of a responsibility to keep the show moving and make sure that it's entertaining, where it takes all of us to work together to make sure it is entertaining and moving along.
Next, we move on to Mantar, who you can see in the middle of this shot. Mantar will detail what the show means to the South Asian and East Indian community in the Lower Mainland.
Yeah, obviously it's big, right? Like my parents' generation, we're obviously very thankful. All of us on the show were first generation as far as born here on Canadian soil, right? Parents, immigrated from India and worked really hard, working very difficult jobs, lots of overtime. We're talking 70-hour weeks, right? To be able to afford for us to grow up in such a privileged environment. To be on screen, we're not only representing ourselves, but representing all that hard work and effort that they put in. So, it's just for South Asians and East Indians, and to see us on screen, it's, we're very proud of that.
Now let's go back to Randeep for some final thoughts on what makes the show so special.
Yeah, going back to 2009 when Hockey Night in Canada Punjabi started on CBC, eventually made the switch over to Rogers and Omni, we've seen the change of what it means to the community. We're lucky to work on this, but we have those interactions with the community where people are saying, hey, you brought me into the game.
And that does it for our Hockey Night in Canada Punjabi coverage. Thanks a lot to Randeep Janda and Mantar Bandal. That does it for us, and this has been Joseph Augusti for BCIT News.
And Joseph joins us now with more details. Joseph, it seems the hockey world is starting to look more like the community around us.
Yeah, so with Harnarayan Singh's move to the English version of Hockey Night in Canada, that gives South Asians a chance to see the representation in a way they haven't previously seen. Also, there's a lot more NHL players who are of Indian descent. Jujar Kara in Chicago and Arshdeep Beans in Abbotsford.
What playoff games does Hockey Night in Canada Punjabi plan on airing in the near future?
Yeah, so Hockey Night in Canada Punjabi is part of Rogers Sportsnet, which means they have access to all national broadcast playoff games. So on Saturdays, you can flick on Omni Television and you can see the Hockey Night in Canada Punjabi guys broadcasting the playoffs live. Back to you.
Thanks, Joseph. The drama of the pandemic made an impact on theaters across the Lower Mainland. Our reporter Jerison Orashun tells us the story of how the Vancouver Improv Centre is coming back to center stage.
Spring is here at Grenville Island. Spring is here at Grenville Island, and tourists are slowly starting to come back to the island. One of the first things that you see in Grenville Island is the Improv Centre, which is home to performances of comedy on the spot, where its new artistic director, Jalen Sapp, is bringing it to a new era.
We decided to be called the Improv Center because we do more than just theater sports. We also do other forms of improv, and we focus on kind of a narrative storytelling improv styles.
I think so. I think there's so much that you can learn from improv that affects everyday life, regardless if you're in the entertainment industry or whatever.
During the pandemic, there was a major restructuring of the center. This is to allow more diverse voices to be on the improv stage.
I think it is. I'm a newer performer, so I only joined in September. But I think, we have a lot of more diverse faces and performers, which is just really fun and really adds to the storytelling.
The Improv Center is important in the Vancouver art scene, but it also has a legacy internationally that you probably know already.
Colin is a brilliant, brilliant mind, and Ryan. But when they went over to England to do Whose Line for the British audience, they kind of introduced the talent that we had here to that audience. And then as Whose Line became more popular and then got picked up in the States, the North American audience for improv expanded exponentially.
For anyone that is new to improv, it is when something that is made on the spot based on suggestions from the audience.
I love being on this stage. There's nothing that has helped me as an improviser more than being on this stage the amount of time that I have been, which is not very long.
The Improv Center is not only important in the Vancouver art scene, but also brought the improv you know and love to a worldwide audience. The improvisers are back on stage to do a different show every time. I'm Jerison Orashun in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.
If you have any questions regarding the show, you can contact us at bcit-broadcast.com or bcitnews.com.
That's all for this edition of BCIT Magazine. I'm Madison Buckingham.
And I'm Jake McGrail. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.